The movie begins with an adult Amir. In the year 2000, in San Francisco, California, Amir's life took an unexpected turn with a single phone call from Rahim Khan, an old friend of his father. This call would lead him back to the memories of his childhood in Kabul, Afghanistan. In the 1970s, Kabul was a city brimming with life and culture. Amidst this vibrant backdrop, we meet a young Amir who comes from a wealthy family. Amir's father, Baba, was a wealthy and respected businessman. Their upper-class status was evident in their grand house. Desperate to win his father's approval, Amir broke Baba's record of 14 kills. Hassan, known for his kite-running skills, promised to retrieve the last fallen kite, a symbol for Amir's victory. Hassan chased the last defeated kite, but was late returning. When Amir went to find him, he saw Hassan trapped by Asif and his gang in an alley. Refusing to give up the kite, Hassan was assaulted while Amir, paralyzed by fear, ran without intervening. Riddled with guilt, he distanced himself from Hassan and framed him for stealing his watch. Hassan accepted the blame, leading to Ali and Hassan's obligatory departure, much to Baba's dismay.
The Soviet invasion. In 1979, the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan, bringing chaos and violence to the region. Baba and Amir are forced to flee their homeland. Their journey is perilous, taking them through Pakistan and eventually to the United States. They find refuge in Fremont, California. In America, their lives changed drastically. Gone are the days of wealth and privilege. They move into a modest apartment. Baba, once a successful businessman, now works at a gas station to make ends meet. This humble job is a testament to his sacrifice, a stark contrast to his former life. Despite the challenges, Baba's strength and resilience shine through as he works tirelessly to provide for Amir. Next, Amir's education. Amir embraced the opportunity and succeed in education. His success is a testament to his determination to honor Baba's sacrifice. Amir's passion in writing started to bloom, leading him to pursue a career as an author. But life in America is not without its hardship. Baba's health began to deteriorate. He is diagnosed with terminal cancer, a blow to both him and Amir. Despite his illness, Baba remains a pillar of strength, refusing to let his condition overshadow his son's future. And before his passing, Baba fulfilled one final wish, which is arranging Amir's marriage to Sofiah, who also fled from Afghanistan. Baba's involvement in Amir's marriage is a reflection of Afghan tradition and his love for his son. Baba's pride and joy at Amir's wedding marked one of his last happy moments, providing a sense of closure.
In part 3, Amir, who is now a successful writer in the US, gets a call from Rahim Khan, who is in Pakistan. Khan, who's really sick at this time, asks Amir to visit him because he has something important to share. When Amir gets to Pakistan, Rahim Khan drops a big surprise, which is the fact that Hassan was actually Amir's half-brother. So, this also means Sohrab, Hassan's son, is actually Amir's nephew. After that, Rahim Khan also tells Amir about the tragic fate of Hassan and his wife. They unfortunately died during the fighting in Afghanistan. So now, Sohrab is in an orphanage in Kabul, trying to survive in a city torn apart by war. Because of this, Amir really feels bad about what happened to Hassan. He knows he has to do something to make it right. Rahim Khan asks Amir to go to Kabul and bring Sohrab to safety. At first, Amir is unsure and confused. He thinks about it a lot because it is a big responsibility. After thinking hard, Amir decides he must go to Kabul to save Sohrab.
After reflecting upon the new information he had just learned, Amir makes a phone call to Sofiah. He tells her about Sohrab and finally makes up his mind to return to Kabul. Rahim Khan then arranges for an acquaintance, Farid, to take Amir there. Farid questions Amir about his return to Afghanistan. He assumes that Amir was there to make a quick profit selling off ancestral lands. Amir then showed him the Polaroid picture of Hassan and Sohrab Rahim Khan had given to him. "He was my brother," Amir says quietly. Along the way, Amir was met by the visual aftermath of the Soviet occupation and the terrorism enacted by the Taliban. There was a glaring lack of trees. Rubble surrounded the children running in the streets. They pass a man selling his body for money.
The pair get
and
off,
another man
and Amir
hanging
surveys the
limply
changed
off
site of
noose.
Wazir Akbar Khan, the neighborhood he grew up in. Then, a jeep full of Taliban men armed to the teeth passes them. Farid quickly drops his gaze while Amir continues to stare at the view. Afterwards, Farid berates Amir for being too bold, as his actions could have gotten them killed. Amir and Farid meet the orphanage director. The pair questions him about a boy named Sohrab, and the director tries and fails to evade the question. Much to Farid and Amir's anger, he then admits to exchanging children for money to the Taliban to afford food for the other orphans. He then confesses selling a Hazara boy to a Taliban official with dark sunglasses. After Amir and Farid press him for more information, the director tells them where to find the said man. Farid and Amir leave the orphanage. They stop by the building that was once Amir's childhood home. Farid tells him to hurry, but Amir makes his way to a small tree. He looks at the carving he and Hassan had left so many idyllic years ago. Amir and Farid head to the location installed by the director. At first, it seems to be a gathering for a football match. Then, a jeep rolls in, bringing forth a man matching the director's description. Behind him, a woman in a burqa and a man with his head covered by a sackcloth are dragged into the crowd's view. The event they witness turns out to be a public stoning. Amir closes his eyes at the sight. After it draws to a close, Farid approaches one of the Taliban men to request for a meeting in exchange for payment. They are led to a remote building. Amir is led to a room. To his surprise, he finds out that the assistant to the Taliban official is none other than Asif. Asif orders him to take off his fake beard and calls in Sohrab to dance for them in a show to taunt Amir. Furious at Amir for attempting to take Sohrab away, Asif decides to beat up Amir in front of Sohrab. They manage to escape after Sohrab aims his slingshot at Asif's eye, just like how his father had done for Amir when they were children. Farid drives the newly reunited uncle and nephew pair to Peshawar. Farid wishes him well, and Amir and Sohrab stay at an inn to rest for the night. Amir receives a letter from Rahim Khan, discovering that he had died. The next day, Amir wakes up to find Sohrab missing. He runs around the stalls and markets in search for the boy, only to find Sohrab walking in a mosque. Amir and Sohrab sit together as Sohrab somberly explains what happened to him before Amir came. Amir asks Sohrab to come home with him to the US. Amir and Sohrab finally return to the US, to Sofiah, who welcomes them at the airport. They bring Sohrab to dinner to meet Soraya's parents, his adoptive grandparents. One day, Amir brings Sohrab to the park where the children there were playing kites. He decides to show Sohrab the art of cutting kites, just like how he played years ago. He volunteers to be Sohrab's runner and repeats what Hassan said to him when they were boys. "For you, 1,000 times over."
So, continuing on the issue of the impact of war and political turmoil, so for me personally, it really hit me how much people are suffering in the war and how this affects these people, especially people dying or hurt, some even losing their own life because of this. And one particular example of this is when Hassan and his wife were murdered just because they refused the Taliban's order, which is just happening personally because you can see how much pain causes his son, Sohrab, who refuses to speak for about a year because of this incident. And another thing that got to me was how the movie showed the life of Afghans who couldn't live Kabul. So in the movie, these people were shown to live in fear with scenes that show the lack of food supply, and on top of that, they even have to survive amidst the bombings and always being scared because they don't know what will happen next. So this made me think about how strong these people are. They always face challenges and struggle just in order to survive another day. And thinking about all this from the movie really opened my eyes because war doesn't just destroy buildings, they write people's life and their minds. It shows how important peace is, and we shouldn't take it for granted.
Next, the second prominent issue in the movie is the impact of war and political turmoil. The invasion of the Soviet and the Taliban rule in Afghanistan has greatly impacted the characters in the movie. First, the impact of war and subsequent migration take a toll on Baba, Amir's father. He goes from being a wealthy and powerful figure in Kabul to a man struggling to make ends meet in a foreign land, as a cashier at a gas station and also as a vendor at the local flea market. This shift in his life affects his health and spirit, which eventually leads to his death. Additionally, the depiction of Kabul under Taliban rule, particularly the execution of Hassan and his wife and the abduction of Sofiah, underscores the brutal reality of life in the conflict zone. The brutal enforcement of the Taliban's rule and the ethnic cleansing of the Hazaras are depicted through the fate of Hassan and his family. Particularly, Sofiah, Hassan's son, is being forced into child prostitution and had to experience emotional abuse, which is a crime rarely faced by many children in war-torn countries. The story of Baba and Amir fleeing Afghanistan and living as a poor immigrants in Vermont, California makes me more aware of how difficult life as an immigrant can be. Their experiences significantly burden my understanding of the struggles faced by people in conflict zones. Immigrants who flee from their own country have to start over a new life in a foreign land where they need to find a new job, places to live can be incredibly challenging, especially when they don't even understand the language or culture of their new home.
To elaborate on the theme of betrayal that is present in the Kite runner, we see that Baba and Amir are more alike than we thought, because despite the marked differences in their personalities and interests, Baba also has betrayed his closest friend, which is Ali, by having an affair with his wife to produce Hassan, his illegitimate son. In a way, Baba is a bit of a hypocrite, despite the sayings that he had passed down to Amir, who kept them close to his heart. Next, in my opinion, I think I prefer the book over the movie, because the movie loses a lot of nuance in its adaptation. Due to its ending change, I feel that it is less impactful, and the redemption that is required to redeem Amir's actions and his wrongdoings towards Hassan in the past was needed in the book compared to the movie. So to conclude, yes, the movie, this sounds typical, but yes, in my opinion, the book is better than the movie.
Next, for my part, I will be focusing on Amir's betrayal and redemption. This issue started when Hassan tried to retrieve the last kite for Amir, but he was assaulted by Asif because he refused to give the kite to Asif. Amir, upon arriving at the scene, does nothing to intervene or help Hassan. To get rid of the feeling of guilt, he began to distance himself from Hassan, and he took it too far when he framed Hassan of theft. Being a loyal person he is, Hassan falsely confessed to protect Amir. Years have passed. Amir began to seek redemption. One of the redemption acts that affected me the most is when he decided to find and rescue Sonrab from the orphanage where Sonrab is being abused. By saving Hassan's son, Amir seeks to honor Hassan's memory and rectifies his betrayal. For you 1,000 times over, Amir quoted Hassan's word when he went to fetch the last kite for Amir, despite the danger, showing his commitment to rescuing Sonrab the same way Hassan showed his loyalty towards Amir. Amir's reaction highly affected me as it shows human flaw and the complexity of moral decision. It also served as a reminder of how fear and a desire for approval can lead to regrettable action. I feel shocked and disbelief that Amir does nothing to intervene, and my anger is directed towards Amir's cowardice and betrayal. And I feel sad the fact that their friendship pretty much ended because Amir is too afraid. But my perspective towards Amir changes to empathy as he wants to build a relationship with Hassan's son, and the symbol of hope shines as Amir runs a kite for Sonrab, symbolizing new beginning. And I think that's all for our group. Thank you.